movie-loving maniacs, and welcome back to the Lassiter Factors show. And on this episode, I am going to break down my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. And especially since now that the Oscars are coming up, or at least it's weeks away from the time that I'm recording this video, but now that the Oscars are here, I thought now is a good time to finally give you my top 10 favorite movies of 2022, put a cap on 2022. And even though there was a couple of movies that I wanted to wait on and see before I do this list, but I'm pretty confident in that this is the definitive list. The only two movies that I haven't seen yet that I've yet to watch was Babylon and The Whale, the new Brendan Fraser movie. I don't know, maybe I've seen it by now, by the time this video comes out, but who knows. But I doubt that those two movies will probably make my top 10. But so I thought now is a good time, and I brought back my guest here, Mr. Process and Greatness, Zooty here, who is also the sponsor of this video. Do you have anything to say on behalf of the Process and Greatness?
Same as always, process keep
it. As always, I'm glad you see I'm running the show right now. You're running the show, so. My short film, Lift Yourself. If you happen to be in the DMV area, on the weekend of April 2nd, come and check out my short film, Lift Yourself. It will be premiering at the AFI Movie Theater out in Silver Spring, Maryland. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, and this fellow right here, he also happens to be one of the stars of the movie. So come check it out. Support me, support him.
You should come out, because it's about to be a good one. We had a lot of fun shooting.
Yeah, like I said, Lift Yourself, April 2nd at the AFI Theater. If you're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area around that time, come check it out. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. Thank you. So now let's get into my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. But before I do that, I do want to give a couple of, it's quite a lot, but don't worry, I'm going to roll through them. But I have some honorable mentions, but I'm doing these honorable mentions just a little bit differently. I kind of grouped a couple of them. So for the honorable mentions on the animated side of things, I want to give a shout out to Turning Red, which is a Pixar movie that came out last year, which was my favorite animated movie. That would have made my top 10 until another movie I finally saw came out, but more on that in a bit. But Turning Red, I'd say, is one of the better Pixar movies that have come out in the last couple of years. The Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers movie, I'd say, is the best sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit will ever get. And then Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's a lot better than the first movie, and I'd say, people like to say that the show The Last of Us broke the video game curse, but we're getting movies like Sonic the Hedgehog that's kind of breaking the curse right now, so what the hell. And then, so if 2021 was a good year for musicals, then I say 2022 was a good year for horror movies, because a lot of good horror movies came out this year. And the ones I like to highlight that I just personally like more than Halloween Ends, though they finally killed that nigga, so I'm happy about that. But the ones that stood out to me was the Hellraiser reboot, Bodies, 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 Barbarian, Smile, and X and Pearl, which, hey, I was very impressed with X and Pearl, especially Pearl.
Pearl and Barbarian, those two was two I was not expecting. Those was good.
Yeah,
those were definitely good.
One documentary did make my top 10, but I do want to highlight another. It's called Selena Gomez, My Mind and Me. If you're a fan of Selena Gomez, then I'd highly recommend that, because that documentary is basically a day in the life and how she deals with bipolar disorder and how that's kind of affected her life and the people around her, and how she's learning to deal with it and trying to do some good in the world. That's something I really didn't know about her, and as someone that did have a crush on Selena Gomez back in the day, and even still a fan of hers, or at least what she does, I'd say definitely worth checking out. On the biographical film side of things, we had the Elvis movie, which I have mixed feelings about Elvis, but as far as the movie goes, it was a very visually stunning movie, and it helped me understand Elvis a little bit more. And even the polarizing aspects I don't like about Elvis, they did address that in a way that's respectful. And then another biographical film.
They should have been totally disrespectful about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not all biographical films are perfect in the first place, so,
But the first movie was good, though.
Yeah. But another biographical film that came out this year was, I can't even call it a biographical film, was Weird Al the Yankovic Story, which is basically a biographical parody about the parody singer Weird Al Yankovic, and starred Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself.
That was a good one. That went left, but then it started going too far left.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, been tired of this.
Mm-hmm. And then as for everything else, I'm gonna give a shout out to Violent Night, which is probably my favorite modern Christmas movie right now. Prey, I thought, was a good return to form for the Predator franchise. Ambulance,
Man, Prey not in your top 10?
nah,
Prey definitely in my top 10.
yeah. Ambulance, I say, is Michael Bay's best movie in years. Anything on Ambulance? Or did you even see Ambulance?
I watched Ambulance about 3 times, but I was I was disinterested all 3 times I watched it. And I really wanted to see that movie when it came out, but I was really, it didn't. Yeah. I don't know. The one everybody hated on Netflix was more exciting than that one to me.
No comment.
Like, as far as exciting, it was.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They had the parkour dude in there. He's a real parkour dude doing all that. Real fires.
Speaking of Netflix, I also want to give a huge shout out to this one movie that came out on Netflix earlier in 2022, and that is Hustle, which continues the Adam Sandler renaissance. So, very surprised by that film.
Very good film.
Nope. I wasn't too big on when I first saw it in the theater, but then after more rewatches, I appreciate it more and more. There's a couple of movies that I would say were, at least in my opinion, the most important movies that came out this year. One did make my top 10 and one didn't. And one of those, and that movie that didn't make my top 10 is called She Said, I should say. But anyways, it's about basically the journalist that went after Harvey Weinstein and discovered the women that had been abused by Harvey Weinstein. And right now we're living in an era where people are starting to have pushback against the Me Too movement, and I think this movie was important to show, like, hey, look, there are some fallacies to the Me Too movement, but there are some women who have been legitimately done wrong, and just to remind people. So, and plus, I just like the whole journalistic aspect of that movie. So that's one honorable mention. Another one is The Menu, which was weird, but the more I think about it, the more I appreciate it more and more. It was basically a riff on how people criticize things and also attack foodies. And what's your thoughts on The Menu? Because you did watch that with me.
It was. I'll watch it on TBS again. I wouldn't. It's not one of those like ones you want to keep on. If you miss it, you missed it. Like, it's cool.
Yeah. And then the last 4 honorable mentions are The Silent Twins, which was a weird but very insightful movie because it's based on a true story, which I didn't even know about, and the fact that this is a true story is just that kind of shook me. I'll give some love to Avatar, The Way of the Water. It was a visually stunning movie, and I did see it in the theater, but that didn't make my top 10. So another movie that I thought was important to come out this year that also didn't make my top 10 is the Emmett Till movie, which again I think is an important movie, but the only reason it didn't make my top 10 because it's one of those movies where, like, I'm kind of done with black trauma, and it's like we don't want to go through this. But as for the movie itself, I thought it was well done, and it really and I say for me personally, it helped me understand like you don't understand a mother's love until, well, you don't know how much stress a mother goes through when they have to send their child into the world and not knowing if they come back or not. So, and it really did play up the stress of Mama Till in the movie. So, any thoughts on Till?
No, same thing. It was a great movie. Like, great movie. Surprised not in your top 10. I don't know what's left to put in your top 10.
As far as important movies, you'll be surprised. You don't know what it is. And then the last honorable mention, I want to give a shout out to Tyler Perry, because even though he's managed to he managed to do something this year that I think was even possible. He managed to put out a bad movie and a good movie. The bad movie being the Madea Homecoming movie out on Netflix, but then later on this year, he came out with A Jazzman's Blues, which is, I think, his best movie in years. But let me rephrase something real quick. My top 10 favorite movies that I just personally liked more than Top Gun Maverick, which I forgot to put in my honorable mentions. Now,
that came out this year?
Yeah, that came out in 2022.
That y'all been in theater so long, it's like 2 years.
Yeah. But no, Top Gun Maverick, look, I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie to begin with, but I did watch Top Gun Maverick, and I say it improves upon that original movie. I'm just a little antagonistic towards that movie's success and it making $1 billion. And it was definitely a movie for conservatives, and all the anti-woke motherfuckers seem to come behind it. But it is definitely a good movie. I just didn't put it in my top 10 just to spite those people. So, but your thoughts on Top Gun Maverick?
Bradford, you bigot.
I'm not.
Top Gun was really good. Like,
Yeah, it was.
really good.
It shot very well too, though.
Yeah, like the whole movie was really good. Like, I mean, not the whole movie was really good. Like, as a package, it was a good deal.
Yeah,
it was a good deal. It was very, very nostalgic, and I ain't even seen the first one, but I can definitely see all the nostalgia because it's definitely remember Tom Cruise from the 80s? Mm-hmm. Here you go. We gave him an iPhone.
And I'll definitely say Tom Cruise, he's definitely one of the people keeping Hollywood alive with all the crazy ass stunts he be doing. So I also want to give a shout out to 3 other movies that I'm just now seeing well after I started editing this video. The first is Puss in Boots, which is another animated film which I was very surprised of how good it was, and it was clever, it was innovative in terms of story, and how Puss in Boots is dealing with his mortality, and a great way to relaunch the Shrek franchise, or at least get the public re-familiar with the Shrek franchise. The other is The Whale, which it may not be the best movie, but it's definitely worthy of a best performance from Brendan Fraser after everything he's been through, and he's definitely earned all the praise he's getting for this film. His performance in this movie alone, as well as other performances by Sadie Sink, for instance, are definitely worth watching this film just off the acting alone. And finally, The Fabelmans, which is a movie that, had I had a little bit more time, this movie definitely would have made my top 10. But since this is the list I'm presenting y'all, this is here for right now. But The Fabelmans, this movie spoke to me as a filmmaker, as a movie lover, and as a fan of Steven Spielberg. And this was a great biographical film for Steven Spielberg. Alright, so now let's get into what is my official top 10 favorite movies of 2022. And at number 10 is Bullet Train, which I thought was one of the best action movies I saw. Well, not just last year, but in a long time. And I just like the energy of it. Everyone from Brad Pitt, Paperboy, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I'm blanking on the actress's name, but the girl in the movie, and even Bad Bunny. Like, everyone really brought their A game in terms of the action, and it was engaging. What's your thoughts on Bullet Train?
Wasn't Yaya in that?
Yeah. You talking about Zazie Beetz?
Oh yeah, I mean that's Zazie Beetz. Yeah, Zazie was in there. Yeah.
But yeah, Bullet Train at number 10. And number 9 is my animation pick of the year, and that is Intergalactic, which is it has Kid Cudi, it's on Netflix, and it has a whole bunch of other voice actors that I didn't expect to be in there, like Timothée Chalamet. But I just love the animation of it, the energy. Yeah.
That's out of the cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, in fact, Intergalactic, you might have seen my review of that on Instagram a little more recently. But and the other thing about Intergalactic is it's technically classified as a TV movie, but fuck that. If it's over an hour, if it's almost 2 hours, I'm considering it a movie. So, any thoughts on Intergalactic?
What's the difference? I mean, I know the difference between a TV movie and a regular movie, but how is it considered a TV movie? It's on Netflix. It ain't even on TV. It's just a movie on Netflix.
Well, I think the original intent was because it was separated into chapters, and so they thought it was going to be episodic, but then they were just like, fuck it, put them all together. So, but regardless, yes, it is a movie to me.
It's one of the best animations. It was like it's like one of Spider-Man. Like when Spider-Man hit that like new kind of animation style. Well, like it was new, just different. It was just good.
Yeah.
It was like a 2-hour-long episode of love, death, and robots, but just all love.
Mm-hmm. But Intergalactic. That was the movie to me that dethroned Turning Red as my favorite animated movie of last year. So yeah, that is my number 9. My number 8 is Scream, or as I'm calling it, Scream 5 or Scream 22. Scream 2022. They even make a joke about how sometimes these sequels, they just take out the number just to be like a soft reboot. But regardless, for the sake of my sanity, I'm calling it Scream 5, and I'm excited for Scream 6, but Scream 5, I know some people wasn't a huge fan of it. Some people like me did like it, but what I liked about that movie is, one, it made me a Scream fan again. I liked the whodunit aspect of it, and it was also kind of taking shots at the current state of movie fandom right now. And every Scream movie is also a meta commentary on different eras of horror movies. Like Scream 4, that was a meta commentary on how basically everybody's an attention whore. And the second movie is about sequels, and the third movie is about 3 sequels. But I felt this was a great addition to the Scream franchise, and it also expanded with the legacy characters and also introduced new characters. So now I'm excited for Scream 6. So your thoughts on Scream 5? And another reason why it also made my top 10 and why it's my favorite horror movie that came out last year was because it just happened to be one of my favorite theater experiences from last year. So your thoughts on Scream 5?
I wouldn't put it in my top 10. It's not my favorite horror.
That's fair. I'm just saying, as far as the one I enjoyed the most, it was that.
I rock What's the other one say?
Smile, X, Pearl.
Oh yeah, Pearl.
I mean, yeah, I'll argue that those are the better horror movies, but I'm saying as far as the one that entertained me the most, it was Scream 5.